If you want an easy 3-star attack strategy for Town Hall 10, then you're in luck, because in this video I'm going to break down exactly how to get the 3 stars with the bowlers and witches nice and easy. Let's get into it. Alrighty guys, let's dive straight into this. So the bowlers and witches, the BoWitch Attack Strategy, has been around for the longest time, but it's still very viable within the game, and it's so easy to perform because basically you deploy the troops exactly the same, it's just where you deploy them and the spells that is different. Now you always want to think about a 3-pronged attack. One lane on one side, the second lane on the other, with your main focus coming through the center. That's how the BoWitch Attack Strategy works. It will always be deployed like this. It's just depending on the angle of the base you want to come in from. Obviously, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different angles. So that's it. It's really just selecting the correct side, and generally speaking, this is opposite the town hall because you're using the wall wrecker to get right of the way through. Now I appreciate not everyone has the wall wrecker. You will just have to take 2 jump spells instead of just the 1 in order to get through the base. Now you always want to deploy your troops right across the side that you decide to pick. You want to have one set come down one side, and in this case a couple of healers are used just onto the witches. That's purely because the healers will be out of range of the air defense over to the other side of the base. They could very easily get into that range, but you don't normally have to worry about it. If you get your troops into the center quick enough, that air defense will be down before the healers even get there. Then what you want to do is have one golem across to one side just to protect your witches and absorb some fire as you're first coming in, and one golem coming through the center as well. And that's it. Spread the rest of your witches, spread the rest of your bowlers around that side, and then it is selecting where to use the spells. Now, generally speaking, what I would recommend is having bowlers in the clan castle as well. So that's inside the wall wrecker. Some people take a combination of bowlers and Valkyries, and you want to rage and heal on top of them when they come out. Now you want to use a rage very early on in the base here, just as you start to enter the base. That's when you would use it, and that is basically to take down clan castle troops that will normally come your way, and also just give you good entry into the base. The funnel has been created beautifully here due to the 3-pronged attack. You don't really have to worry about it because you have these 2 lines of fire continually coming down, and that actually helps to thin out the base so your main pack can keep within the base itself. So out come the bowlers, and in a second, once they get into the center, that's where the heal and rage will be used right on top of each other. Now also, another key point you want to take note of is having access to both multi-inferno towers. So on the top here, the queen is going to be able to shoot across. Sorry about the drawings today, guys, definitely not on point with that. Queen is going to be able to shoot across to that one, and that's where the jump spell then provides access not only to the multi, but also wisely chose to give us access down to the bottom defenses here as well. So you want access through the multis. That is a key thing in terms of choosing your pathing and where within that line you will deploy the wall wrecker, and I would probably always take a jump as well. Main reason for that is that the witches stand back when they fire, so you're not always going to have the protection of the wall wrecker, and there's no real telling when it will go down. It will be very rare that it makes it all of the way through the base, so that jump spell just gives you an extra added step of safety. Then what you have is when you come down to the end of the base, even if your troops in the middle start to go down, it's perfectly fine, because what you will generally find is that your queen will stay alive. You should be able to hold on to that ability as well because she stands at the back. There's so many other troops absorbing fire, and you will also have your troops coming around the side of the base. Now, what that does is basically means that you are continually taking out the outside of the base, but you will sometimes lose that outside portion. As long as you've got enough fire coming through, you will get it, and a lot of the time it does look a bit scary towards the end, but any easy to deploy attack strategy is always going to have a little bit of randomness towards the end of the base as well. But that is the purpose of this video, to give you guys a very strong attack strategy which is easy to use and will more than likely pull you in the 3 stars even against maxed out bases. Now I have 3 different examples for you. That was just example number 1, all by Toxic Rabbits, and if you're interested in joining us, join my Discord server, it's linked down below. You'll find everything you need, but let's get into the next attack. Very briefly, before we get into the replay, let's check if you guys have took notes from the first attack and that you kind of have an understanding of how you would attack this base. So first thing is first, where do we attack from? Well, the town hall is up at 10 o'clock. So we'd attack from the opposite side, remember, that being this end of the base. Now you can slightly alter the pathing of the wall wrecker, but just bear in mind that creating that funnel and that 3-pronged attack is more difficult from a corner. So generally, you would want the wall wrecker somewhere in the middle. You can alter it slightly to try and give us access to the multis, but in this case, it's really not going to make that much of a difference. So let's start the replay and we'll continue to break it down as we go. As the wall wrecker comes through, we've got that jump spell. So let's say it busted here. We could still use the jump spell in order to give us access to the multi-infernos, but if the wall wrecker does get all of the way through, we can then just jump out the back end of the base. It'll help us out a little bit, and that's ultimately what ends up happening here. So we've got that multi-pronged attack again. Thinking about the healers onto the witches, honestly it's not that big of a deal because like I said, your troops coming through the middle will generally take down the air defense before you have to worry about it. But initially, this area of the base doesn't have an air defense, it doesn't have a multi-inferno within range, so the healers will be pretty safe. And all you want is this area of the base. Now once you get to the back end of the base, yes, you want to in an ideal world keep them witches alive, but if they go down, they've done their job. So because there's an air defense across to this side, we use that golem on this side along with one coming through the middle to protect our troops. Now I forgot to mention, I hope it was pretty clear in the first one, that your heroes come into the center of the base, especially that queen. She is going to move through there. Now you take 2 freeze spells with this attack, and that is very flexible. You can take more than that. In this example, we took 3 of them, but you can basically adjust what you want to take. You can freeze the enemy queen and clan castle if need be, or if not, I would recommend freezing the multi-target infernos. Remember, that's what's going to shred the witches and the bowlers very quick. That's why you want direct pathing to the multi-infernos. It's very rare you're going to see a single, but in that case you would use the freeze spells to protect your wall wrecker moving through the base. Exactly the same has happened with this base. We still have troops coming around this side, we've still got troops coming around the bottom end, but more importantly, we've got the main pack coming through the center. And likewise, you see this with BoWitch attacks, we've still got the queen's ability. Now I would always recommend holding on to that until you get to that area where it is dangerous, where the queen might start to take damage. However, let's say for example you're running short on time, you might pop that ability early, or you might just know that you've got enough power to get through that area. That's when you might pop it early. You can take some cleanup troops for the back end of the base here as well, but we've got one more example to show you, and hopefully you will be starting to get the grips of this, that you can get out and you can do it yourself. Now I know I varied my content today and brought you a Town Hall 10 video. I do plan moving into the new year to continue bringing a variety of Town Hall levels, and I'll probably bring a certain Town Hall level one day, whether that be 9, 10, 11, whatever, then my main account Town Hall 13 the next, before moving across to another Town Hall level, etc, etc. But let's move on to the final attack for this video. Let's again very briefly break down the base. so that you understand why we attack where we do with the BoWitch. Now the BoWitch is just one variation of this strategy. The Frozen Witch is actually another one which has multiple freeze spells. It's a ton of fun. I'll be sure to link that one after this attack, but also it will be down in the pinned comments. So the town hall in this instance is at 8 o'clock, so we're basically coming in from the opposite side. Now in terms of the multis, we could deploy the wall wrecker from over at 2 o'clock. That would give us access to both multis. However, most of the damage from this base is skewed off to the left hand side, and that would arguably be a much better area to get into than the two multi-infernos. So if we put the wall wrecker from 1 o'clock to get through that area, the Archer Queen will still reach the first multi, and then we can jump down the bottom to get access to the second multi, so that is a much better deployment of the wall wrecker. Also on that same subject, the witches which are coming down the side here are going to be under much heavier fire from all of these defenses. So this is the side where the healers will be used. The air defense are certainly a couple of layers back, so as long as we deploy them onto the side here and try and keep that angle as we move down, then we should be a-okay. By the way guys, if you want to see other Town Hall 10 attack videos as well, I have a playlist right on my YouTube channel homepage where you would be able to see other strategies for Town Hall 10. But that Frozen Witch attack, I will link you across to that video after this one. We did that quite some time ago now, but definitely still relevant. So exactly the same deployment, and you can copy the troop composition. Like I said in the previous replay, as long as you have like 2 to 3 freeze spells, that's probably where you can vary. But I would take the 2 rage, the heal, and the jump probably as standard. The freeze is what I would recommend changing if you do need to change anything. So that initial rage is used, like we said, entering the base, a freeze to get the multi and the clan castle. Try and be clever with your freeze as well. Don't just dump them on one defense. If you're freezing, let's say, a multi, try and freeze a multi and an archer tower if you can, just for example. And then as we move down, the jump gives us access to the second multi-inferno, followed by the rage and heal. Remember, as the bowlers come out of the clan castle, they are at full health and they're right in the center of the base, meaning that rage spell is going to help them get huge amounts of damage. And majority of the attack was focused across to the left hand side on this one, because there wasn't a lot over to the right. But the witches have took that down. Even if not, we would have been able to loop back to that anyway. So a very easy to use Town Hall 10 attack strategy for you today. I hope it has helped you out. And if you want another easy attack strategy, very similar, you could use the Frozen Witch attack strategy. I've linked that on your screen right here, so go ahead and watch that one as well, because it's just a slight variation of this and it should help you. But we will catch you again tomorrow here for more Clash of Clans. Until then guys, take care.